Hello there, friend. Welcome back to Max's Writer's Life Vlogs, where I talk about my own process as well as offering writing advice and inspiration along the way. This week, I'm going to talk about two subjects that are basically intertwined, and that's why I'm finally dropping a video on this right now. I spent this past week writing. I actually spent most of the week writing. I was sick one day, or in the process of becoming sick, so I thought, you know what, let's stop right now, and let's heal up, let's step into the Lazarus pit one more time. Oh my god, am I gonna make superhero jokes the entire episode? Maybe. So yeah, I rejuvenated for one day, and came back and finished the next volume, well, another volume, because I have a bunch already written. I prepared another volume of Mercenary Hearts, and I had a whole blast. I feel like Bob Ross, being like, the screen will... On the screen now, you'll see the words that I wrote for the last week or so. You'll see the numbers there, flash across your screen. I don't have the numbers on me right now, and I don't want to spend too much time on numbers. I wrote a total of like 16,000 words, 16,410 words. I don't remember. It's on the screen. Look at it. It was really fun. I wrote an average of like 5,000 words a day. It was interesting. It was really fun, and it was one of those things where like the last day, and I talked a lot about this on Twitter, so if you want to get like live updates on me being silly and talking about writing, Twitter is the place for you. At Mr. Kirin, links below and at the end on the end slate. The last day, it always pains me, and please follow up on me, follow me up on this, okay? It always pains me when the writing session ends early, or it ends before. People ask me, Max, when do you end scenes? It ends when the scene is over. I shoot for a general word count, and I thought, you know what, these two chapters are going to be about this and that, and when it finished, it came out a little short, and I thought, that's where the scene ends, and it always makes me feel bad, because I wanted to get more stuff done, but that's where the scene ends, right? Sometimes some chapters are shorter than others. You can't do anything about that. And ironically, I added up all of the word counts, and this book is, and this new volume that I wrote was still longer than the previous ones, so I thought, what can you do? You can't win, and you still gotta play. There's a metaphor here somewhere, or an analogy even so, but I'm not gonna go about and find it. I had a lot of fun writing. It felt really good to be back on the writing saddle. Is it off the wagon or back on the writing wagon? I don't even know. That's a Seinfeld joke. That's how old that joke is. So I wrote. I spent a lot of time writing, and upon writing, I came to a reflection, if you may. Somebody sent me a tweet. And I always get tweets like this whenever, because I share my word counts at the end of the day. I'm always like, hey, I wrote this many words. Yay! Hashtag I'm writing. And I usually get people going, whoa, how did you manage these many words? I can hardly do X number of words. And whenever I get questions like that, you know, I like to give them the nice, honest answer, and it's all just practice. And I don't think I ever talked about this, but I talked about how when I first got started with writing, I would struggle. I would honestly struggle. I will give you the full, colorful description in a moment, but I would struggle writing 300 words a night. And that was when I started, or a little bit after I started. And now I'm just writing these books like it's nothing. Why? Because experience and practice, sure. And aren't those ultimately the same thing? But also, you know, I learned a lot, and I pick things up along the way. There's a saying that life is too short to make all the mistakes yourself, and I learned from other people's mistakes. Anyhow, talking about that old story reminded me of my origin story, which I haven't actually fully shared, or at least I haven't fully compiled it within one video, and I thought, you know what, let's talk about it today. I know that a lot of you are probably done with NaNoWriMo, whether figuratively or objectively, and I wanted to take a moment to share with you my story, because I know that the ending of November is like super exciting for some and super depressing for others, because they're just like, I only got X number of words done while my best friend did Y number of words. That means that they're a better writer than me, and that's not how it works. It's not a competition. It's not comparison between two writers. NaNoWriMo is ultimately about creating, developing the habit to write, to be able to sit down and tell stories easily and without blocking yourself. Anyway, I was thinking about my own stuff, and I wanted to share where I started, how I came to be where I am now. Probably not the whole story, because that would take too damn long, but at least the start. And those of you who have watched all of my videos, Thank you. You will notice a couple of repeated beats because I've been sharing this story for over a long period of time. I just haven't compiled it anywhere, and it will be compiled here, at least the start of it. So when did I start writing? I didn't start writing seriously, and when I say seriously, I mean like I'm sitting down to write a book. That's what I mean. I remember doing a little bit of fiction writing when I was in middle school, and it was one of those things where like writing down dreams and adapting them into stories. Before that, all of my life, and you will notice a little bit of a pattern here. I drew. I did a lot of drawing. I wanted to be a graphic designer. I wanted to be a comic book maker, for a comic book artist for the longest time. And I realized later that wasn't exactly what I wanted, but we'll get there in a moment. I had entire notebooks of characters that I made with backstories, with connections to other characters. It's like, hey, this character's sword is from this other character who they took when they murdered this other character. And then intertwining webs of characters and events and things like that. None of them written down, but implied through their items and their equipment and the way they looked. My drawings fell off the face of the earth. I would still doodle here and there. I became more interested in modding and also on pen and paper role-playing games. And you will realize relatively soon that I didn't enjoy regular pen and paper role-playing games like D&D because I wasn't the sort of dungeon master who would just give you encounters. Nothing bores me more than spending 3 hours killing goblins. I'm like, if I'm playing a xenophobic character, I would gladly murder goblins for days, but that's just not fun for me. Especially when it's just like, take an action, put on a timer, spend 15 minutes waiting for somebody else to stop doing their casting spells. Not very fun for me. If you like it, that's cool. It just ain't for me. I was in college. Second year of college. I went to community college, by the way. People keep asking me, where did I go to? Nowhere special. Although my creative writing teacher is amazing, and I will stand by her until the end of days. I took an English course, and the English teacher handed me an essay back. An essay with an A on it. And he said, wow, I really like your writing. Have you considered doing creative writing? And I remember sitting there in the... He did this like at the start of the class, by the way. It wasn't like, everyone, look at this awesome person. And it was like really casual. And I remember sitting there and thinking to myself, can I be that? Can I do that? Is that an option for me? Now, you may be thinking to yourselves, Max, that's silly. Why would you think like that? I'm a first-generation immigrant. I wasn't born in the U.S. I moved to the U.S. when I was 13. I didn't speak English for the first 6 months. No. I didn't read or understand English for the first 6 months. It took me like 2 years to be able to speak English. My God, I couldn't read in class. Are you serious? For those who don't speak English as their first language, it's a goddamn minefield. Every word, there are no rules for how words should be pronounced. I came from Spanish, where the way words are written is the way you read them. And there are things where, like, I would watch the dubbed versions of American cartoons, and it'll be like children having a spelling bee, and I'll be sitting there like, what's the problem? That they're spelled the way you read them, the way they're spoken. What's the problem with this? Why are you having a contest about this? It was really funny. And I was sitting there, I'm like, maybe next semester I'll take a writing course. Yeah, why not? It'll be fun. It's an elective. Why not? Who cares, right? And it was right around the time when I took my first graphic design class, and I lost all passion for graphic design because I had the most unemotional, devil-possessed teacher ever. She did not care about the class at all. Teachers with tenure are just garbage, but that's such a bad term. I don't mean that. 99% of them. There are exceptions. Too few, though. That teacher she did not care about graphic design at all. At all. Man. To think that, like, she started, like, the first day with, like, an hour talking about her best friend's, like, jazz band. Anyway, I took creative writing. I took a creative writing course, and I took it with an interesting teacher. The last time she ever taught that class before we got a different teacher, which turned out to be a goddamn angel. But we'll get there in a moment. I started meeting writers, and I started talking with people, and I realized the conflict within writing advice right away. Everyone thought differently about writing, and that was like an eye opener for me, because you gotta realize that, like, I didn't start out going to people for writing advice, if that's the best way to phrase it. I kind of just treated things very organically and casually. I was just like, okay, well, if I want to learn, I gotta go to this class, I guess. They'll teach me stuff about that. And that class was fun because every week a segment of the students had to get together and give the lesson on the particular subject. And I gave the lesson on irony. Yeah! Oh, that was so good. I even had videos and stuff. I remember I played the ending to the Twilight Zone episode, A Martian in a Diner. If you wanna know what I'm talking about, go to Hulu. They have all the Twilight Zone episodes. Look up A Martian in a Diner. That episode is so good, and it's like on point irony at the very end. Anyway, it was through that class that I met a lot of writers, and I met a lot of friends, and I started sharing my writing and talking with them. And the best part about stuff like that, it wasn't you are forced to write this many words every week, and you're forced to give feedback to these many people every week. That was important, sure. Best part was having a space where people enjoyed what you did, where people got what you were doing, a place where people said, hey, I like to write, you like to write as well, let's write stuff and talk about writing, a place where it's okay for you to go crazy about your characters, because everyone is also crazy about their characters. That space is so meaningful, and that is why things like NaNoWriMo are super important, and also creating your own communities within Tumblr and Twitter and forums, having that space with people where you can just talk about the stuff you like, talk about writing and how it makes you feel, and your plans and your ideas. That's really meaningful. I think, if I had to equate it, I think that's 50% of what really helped me. 50% came to sitting down and having a place to know that it wasn't wrong, it wasn't weird, it wasn't bad. It was a place full of people that were all doing the same thing. Some were writing nonfiction, sure. Some had very specific ideas about how writing worked. Sure, we're all different, but everybody was working towards the same thing. Everyone wanted to write, to create stories, to share them with the world. That seemed like a pretty fun ideal. A moment of peace. Peace in the world in the form of stories. Isn't that ridiculous? Years passed. I took that class like 2 times. That's not true, because there was a creative writing course and then an advanced creative writing course, and I took those like 3 times. Don't tell anybody. I said that it wasn't like wrong. The college did allow you to repeat classes. They took that off later, probably because of me. That's not true. It couldn't have been because of me. That's impossible. It's like a huge college. It's like the best community college in that part of the country. But anyhow, there came a point. I kept taking this class, and I kept meeting up with people, and it was one of those things where, like, I started creating writing groups with other writers. Yes, that was a correct English sentence. And we would meet up, and we would meet over the summer, and then we would meet over winter, and then we'd just keep writing and getting together and telling stories and writing and writing and writing. And having that space. And while I do think that having that space was really meaningful, it was still 50%. And this video has gone on way too long, but I want to just kind of touch on the turning point, because having that space is good, having that space is important, but I realized as time passed that I had become comfortable with the format. I'm the sort of person that I love routine, I love having a schedule, and I know that sounds weird for some people, and it makes me sound much more machine-like than I would love to admit, but I do love me a schedule. I love knowing when things are going to happen, when. It allows me to excel within that format, and I realized that I found comfort within the format of the classes, within the format of the groups. 10 pages every week. 10 pages every week. 2,500 words. And then I realized that there came a point when I was doing that, getting it done in like 2 days, and then not writing. Not writing for the rest of the week. I got done what I had to get done, right? It didn't matter anymore. I did my share. Some people missed weeks. I never missed a single week. Aren't I the best? And then things got really bad. The job that I had at this unemotional laboratory was going really bad. Totally not the Death Star, by the way. It got really bad. A bunch of friendships got really bad. And I realized that I was feeling really down about myself. And out of all of this chaos and uncertainty, I sought to find something I could hold on to. And I realized that one of the things that was making me the saddest was the fact that I wasn't getting anywhere with my writing. I started books, never finished them. I started stories, never finished them. I would just start things that would seem exciting, and then they would be not so exciting, or things would get hard, or I would just get bored with them, and I would put them down, and never finished anything. And I realized I had to change. And I realized I've always been a level-headed person to the extent where I can look at myself and say, dude, you're wrong. You're only writing what you're told to write. You're not writing for passion. You're doing it out of necessity for the format. Write more. Finish books. Do what you want to do. And out of all this order, I found equilibrium within writing. I started writing like crazy. I realized that I wanted to finish things. I wanted things to be complete. I wanted to write books. You know, I didn't want to be this person who only did things because it was what was expected of me. I wanted to write books. And I wrote a whole novel. Not a novella, not a novelette, not a serial. I wrote a whole novel in 14 days. I don't know how I did it. Even to this day, I look at the math and it makes no sense. I don't even know how I did it. Like, oh, and I also made changes to my life. I let go of friends. I also, I basically stopped working Saturdays because I was working 6 days a week, 10 hours a day. 10 hours of working and then 12 hours if you count the commute. So basically, wake up at 5 in the morning, get home at 5 in the afternoon. Yeah, half of the day gone working. When you work that much, one of my coworkers nailed this. And I repeat this because she freaking nailed it. When you work that much, going home doesn't feel like going home. Going home feels like going back to the hotel. You go to the hotel, you shower, you go back to work. That's what living felt like for like 3 years. And I decided to change all of that. I stopped working Saturdays. I told my boss I can't do this. You don't like it? Deal with it. Simple as that. Life, yeah. Is it hard? Is it tough? Well, of course it is. But it's your life though. Started writing. I finished the novel in 14 days. I don't even know how I did it. I don't even know how I finished Wonderful Emotions within... I should really clean up that book and publish it. It's a really good book. Anyhow, after that I realized things started to change. I started writing a lot more, and I don't want to... It sounds really big-headed when I say it like this, and I don't mean it like that. But I felt that I needed to stop taking the class. I realized that I was on a different level. And I'm not saying that as like, I am so good. No, I meant people were going to that class to find the company, to find the 50% that I had already gotten, to find that space to acknowledge, to internalize mentally and physically and emotionally that writing was okay, that it was not a bad thing. I had already gotten that. I was past it. It wasn't that I was so awesome, it's just that I had already acknowledged those things. And going to that class felt like grinding on a lower level zone in an MMO, if you don't mind the video game analogy. So I stopped taking the class. I started writing, started a blog years ago. Oh man, back when I did writing jokes. As a way to get people to look at me, back when I would go through the writing tag, #writing, and answer questions to anybody who was looking for advice. It takes time for things to work out. It really does take time. There's a Chinese proverb, I forget how it goes, but it's like, the best time to plant a tree was yesterday? No, the best time to plant a tree was 5 years ago. The second best time is now. I think it goes a little bit like that. That's how it works. It's just a long time. And over the course of that writing, and you gotta understand that, like, back when I started writing, I would sit down, and this is like the guttural description that I can still feel it physically. I would sit down at the desk, and I would turn off the videos and the games, and I would say, I'm gonna write for this time because this means a lot to me, and I wanna do this thing. I didn't know I could be this thing, and I wanna become this thing. And I'm not kidding you. I would write chapters that were like 150 words. That's by the way, that's half a page, by the way. And I remember vividly being 160 words into a chapter, writing it in WordPress, directly on WordPress. 160 words into the chapter, and beads of sweat rolling down my face. Because I had never done anything like that. All of my life, I drew, I came up with ideas, I came up with concepts, but I had never forged the writing. People overlook how writing works. It is taking concepts and ideas and forming them, shaping them, compressing them into a form that can be digested and formed. People forget that writing is indeed magic. You create something out of nothingness. You give form to that which is formless. Imagination. So if you're a young person out there and you think to yourselves, I'm never gonna be that good, not me. Like, look at a better writer and be like, I'm never gonna be as good as Neil Gaiman. Well, you forget that Neil Gaiman started writing when he was 20. You forget that. He wasn't successful until Sandman broke records when he was 28. If you start now, you'll get a pretty good running start. In the act of writing, I realized that all those doodles that I did, all those places I made for role-playing campaigns that never happened, they were stories. There were little stories there in between those characters, the interactions between those people, the name of that sword, the origin of that city. They were all stories. I'd been looking to tell stories all of my life, and I didn't know it. It was fun. It was really interesting. And, so many years have passed, so many things have happened. I started a channel, I have more books out, I've got a Patreon, there's a lot of support out there, and it feels awesome to be doing this, to be able to do this in a way that couldn't have happened at any other period in history. It's kind of amazing. And if you've tagged along for a part of that journey, I want to thank you. Thank you for tagging along. Thank you for spending a little bit of your day with me. And I want you to take out of this really silly video, take the notion that you too will have an origin story. And you too, if you pursue your craft and you dedicate yourself to it, you can achieve anything. You can climb any mountain. You can cross any ocean. Nothing is impossible if you put your mind to it, okay? Now, this has gone on way too long. I've talked way too much. I want to hear how your week has gone. And for the time being, though, thank you for watching. Thank you for spending a little bit of your day with me. And I'll be seeing you on the next one. It always happens. Like, I start out every video being all like, hello everybody, Henkel. And the next thing I know, I'm just like, hold dear the people who love you. Tell them that you love them, for they may soon die, for that is the nature of all life. Man, I don't want to say that I become dark, I just get really like, intense. I don't know. It's kind of the nature of these videos, though. I want to give you like the chance to understand that like things change. You can get better. You can improve. The good days are coming, friend. Just gotta keep on walking by, and keep on moving forward. I did it again.